He paid for a VIP seat like everyone else, until a flight attendant told him to move for someone more important. What happened next made headlines across the country. Darius Colton just wanted to go home. He wasn't thinking about policies or politics or making a statement. He was thinking about his bed, his kids, and whether he had enough time to pick up barbecue from that little place off Lyndale before it closed. His keynote at the Minneapolis Tech Futures Conference had gone better than expected. Tight crowd, standing ovation, even a few handshakes from investors afterward. But now, as he rolled his carry-on through Terminal 1 at MSP, he just wanted quiet. His VIP boarding pass felt like a small reward. A window seat, a little extra legroom, early boarding, nothing special. He'd paid for it like anybody else. And after 3 days of networking and talking, it was going to be his first real moment of peace. Darius was a tall man, built like a former linebacker who now spent more time behind screens than weights. His beard had gone silver around the edges, but his eyes still held the sharp focus of someone who'd had to work twice as hard for half the recognition early in his career. Charlotte was home now, but he'd spent years bouncing between cities, contracts, and short-term housing just to build the kind of stability that people around him now took for granted. He didn't wear expensive suits or try to impress anyone. That day, it was jeans, a sport coat, and a comfortable pair of sneakers. He'd long learned that power didn't always look like power. Sometimes it just looked like a man minding his business in seat 2A. The first sign that something was off came before takeoff. He was scrolling through emails when a flight attendant approached with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She leaned in slightly, voice low but clear. "Mr. Colton, we have a small request. One of our frequent flyers is seated toward the back. He's asked if you'd be willing to switch seats with him." Darius looked up, confused. "I'm sorry. Why?" She hesitated. "He's part of our loyalty program, and it's a preferred request. He was expecting an upgrade. There seems to have been a mix-up." Darius glanced around. The cabin was half full. He wasn't being asked to move to another VIP seat. She was pointing toward row 24. He gave a polite smile. "I'd prefer to keep my seat, thanks. I paid for this one." The attendant's lips tightened just slightly. "Of course. I'll let the team know." He thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. 5 minutes later, another crew member came by, this time a senior flight attendant. Her tone was less friendly. "Sir, we understand you declined to switch seats, but unfortunately we're going to need you to move. It's a company policy when there's a seating conflict with executive-level passengers." Darius blinked. "Executive level? Is he staff?" "No, but he's part of our premium loyalty tier. We're asking for your cooperation." He kept his voice calm. "I booked this seat, paid for it days ago. There wasn't any mention of a conflict until now. Passengers nearby were starting to notice." "Sir," she said again, quieter now, "we can offer you a complimentary drink and a $75 travel voucher for the inconvenience." "So, I'm being asked to move because this person is more important to your airline?" She didn't answer. Darius sighed, took a breath, and leaned back. "I'm not moving." The attendant didn't argue. She simply nodded once and walked away. But 5 minutes later, a third staff member showed up, this time with a small clipboard and a forced smile. No explanation, no eye contact, just, "Mr. Colton, please gather your things. You've been reassigned to seat 24B. No warning, no choice. Darius looked at her, then back at the seat he had paid for. His chest felt tight, not from anger, but from disbelief. Not a single apology this time, just procedure. He stood up slowly, every movement watched. The walk down the aisle was the worst part, eyes pretending not to look. Some didn't bother pretending. A younger woman in 12C whispered, "That's not right." An older man gave him a nod of what might have been sympathy, or maybe guilt. But Darius didn't say a word. He placed his bag in the overhead bin above 24B, took his seat, and looked out the window. But somewhere behind him, a phone camera was still recording. Seat 24B was wedged between a young guy in basketball shorts and an elderly woman who kept asking if this was the flight to St. Louis. Darius didn't answer. He stared straight ahead, trying to keep the heat in his chest from rising to his face. He'd experienced worse things in life: rudeness, bias, disrespect. But something about this felt different, because it was so casual, so polished, so rehearsed. The man who took his seat was maybe late 40s, business casual, salt and pepper hair, and a tan polo shirt that still had the tags tucked under the collar. He wasn't just confident. He looked like someone who always got what he asked for, no matter who it inconvenienced. The man never even looked back. Not once. It wasn't the first time Darius had been made to feel small in a place where he was supposed to belong. But this wasn't a private club or boardroom where things happened behind closed doors. This was a commercial airline, a seat, a transaction. Something every working person in America could relate to. Darius pulled out his phone, not to tweet, not to call anyone, just to distract himself. But even then he could hear them. Row 22. Quiet murmuring. "I think they moved that guy." "Yeah, I saw. That was weird, right? He paid for that seat. I heard him say it." The man next to Darius glanced over. "That was messed up, man." Darius didn't respond. He wasn't ready to make this a scene. He wasn't ready to be the guy people clapped for after standing up to something. He just wanted to fly home. But then the plane started moving, and he felt something shift, not in the air, but in the atmosphere between people. The discomfort had spread. Meanwhile, 2 rows ahead, a teenager who had watched the entire interaction was editing video on her phone. Her name was Janie Ruiz, 16, visiting her aunt in Charlotte. She hadn't meant to record it. At first, it was just for fun. She liked filming clips for her stories. But when she saw the flight attendant lean in and ask that man to move, something told her to hit record. Now, with the in-flight Wi-Fi active, she uploaded the video to TikTok and wrote 4 words underneath. He paid for it. No hashtags, no dramatic music, just the raw footage. It spread fast. Back in 24B, Darius still hadn't looked at his phone. He was trying to let it go. He closed his eyes, thought about his daughter's science project, his son's basketball tryouts, the shoes he promised to fix for his wife. Real things. Normal things. But even from the back, he could hear the clink of glasses up front. Hear the man in 2A ordering sparkling water like it had been waiting for him. The flight attendants were extra cheerful now, cracking jokes, asking if he needed anything else. When Darius opened his eyes again, the flight was in full cruise. He turned his phone over and finally noticed the notifications. 3 missed calls. 2 texts from his colleague. "Man, you trending." He frowned. He clicked the link she sent him. There he was, on video, clear audio. The moment the flight attendant said company policy. The way he replied, calm and steady. "I paid for this seat." The quiet shake of his head. The comments underneath came in waves. "So we still doing this in 2025? This man handled it better than I would have. He deserves every dime back. And then some. Airbright Airlines. Seriously?" He stared at the screen, stunned. Not angry. Not even hurt. Just surprised. The internet had taken what felt like a personal humiliation and turned it into something louder. The flight was still mid-air, but people on the ground were already calling for heads to roll. One comment stuck with him, though, more than the others. It wasn't flashy or emotional, just simple. "Why do we keep pretending this is okay?" He locked his phone and leaned back again. The man beside him, same one in basketball shorts, nudged his elbow. "People got your back. You should speak out." Darius gave a slow exhale. "Maybe. We'll see." But what he didn't know was that a producer at WGN Chicago had already forwarded the video to their editor, and by the time the wheels touched down, things were already spiraling out of the airline's control. The plane touched down at Midway just after 6:30 p.m. Clear skies, smooth landing. To most passengers, it was the end of a short, uneventful flight. But not to Darius. As the plane taxied toward the gate, he noticed more glances than usual. Subtle ones. A few passengers looking over their shoulders, someone in the aisle ahead whispering into their phone. The teenager from earlier, Janie, stood up just enough to spot him, then quickly sat back down. She didn't look guilty. She looked concerned. Darius powered off airplane mode and braced himself. His phone buzzed so hard it slipped off his lap. There were text messages from old co-workers he hadn't spoken to in years, emails from reporters, a LinkedIn message from someone at the Chicago Tribune. And then there were the headlines, dozens of them. One stood out, pinned to the top of his screen by an app notification. Black passenger removed from VIP seat on Airbright flight. Video sparks outrage. He read it twice. Another headline followed seconds later. Passenger downgraded mid-flight, due to loyalty policy. Airlines scrambles for answers. Darius didn't know whether to laugh or throw up. It felt surreal, like watching someone else's life happen. Except it was him. His voice. His face. The seatbelt sign dinged off. The man in basketball shorts looked over. Yo, you see this? Darius nodded. Yeah. You good? I will be. The line to exit was moving slow. A few rows ahead, a middle-aged woman with a beige tote bag turned to glance at him. Then another. Then a man in a Hawaiian shirt raised his phone. He wasn't even being subtle about it. He was recording. Darius turned away, suddenly uncomfortable. As he reached the front of the plane, where VIP passengers usually deboarded first, he paused. That same crew, 3 attendants, including the one who first asked him to move, stood quietly at the galley. None of them looked at him. He stopped in front of them, not to cause a scene, just to look each one in the eyes. But they didn't return it. He stepped off the plane. Inside the terminal, it only took 5 minutes before someone approached. A young man in a red hoodie, maybe 20, maybe younger. Nervous energy. Mr. Colton? Darius blinked. Yeah? I just wanted to say, I saw the video. What they did, that wasn't right. Thank you. For not yelling or anything. You handled it better than I would have. Darius gave a small nod. Appreciate that. The kid looked like he wanted to say more, but just stepped back into the crowd. Darius walked through the terminal slowly, a carry-on in one hand, phone buzzing non-stop in the other. The flight was over, but the attention was just beginning. By the time he reached the exit, another email popped up. This one was from someone at Airbright Corporate. It wasn't long. Just a generic message. We're aware of your experience on Flight 624. A representative will be reaching out. We value your feedback. He didn't bother replying. Outside, he called a rideshare. While he waited, he sat on a bench near the passenger pickup, staring at the last thing he wanted to see, his own face, on a stranger's phone screen just across from him. Someone was watching the video again, mouth slightly open. The man noticed him. Their eyes met. He lowered the phone awkwardly and turned away. But it was too late. This wasn't just a personal moment anymore. It had already gone public. By the next morning, Darius's name was everywhere. It was on breakfast shows, news websites, and Twitter threads stacked 20 comments deep. But it wasn't just the clip anymore. It was the story. People were digging into the airline's policies, talking about how loyalty tiers were often used to excuse poor treatment. The internet wasn't just angry, it was organized. Darius woke up to 142 unread messages and 5 missed calls. 2 were from numbers labeled unknown. One was from a local Chicago station, another from a woman named Monique Glass, senior producer at a national morning show. He rubbed his face, groggy. Then he checked his email. There it was. Subject line, "Good morning from CNN. We'd love to speak with you today if you're open to it." He let the phone fall on the comforter. In the kitchen of his hotel suite, the coffee brewed slowly. His hands weren't shaking, but he felt like he was carrying something heavy in his chest. All of this because he said no to giving up his seat. Across the country, the airline was scrambling. Airbright's public relations team posted a statement around 8 a.m. Eastern. "We are aware of the incident involving Mr. Colton on Flight 624. Airbright holds our guests in the highest regard, and we regret any experience that does not reflect our values. We are conducting an internal review and will take appropriate actions.